Hey everyone, hope you are doing awesome. Welcome back to my channel Pega Hut with another video. Thanks everyone for subscribing to my channel, and if you haven't hit the bell icon yet, please do so you won't miss any of my videos. Please hit the like button and leave me a comment or feedback if you like the video or the way I have explained. So today we are going to learn the part 2 video of the API understanding. People who are new to this video, I would strongly recommend to watch my part 1 video before you start. After finishing today's video, I'm sure you will have a great understanding about API and how it works. So without doing any further delay, let's get into it. So in my last video, I have covered up to the difference between post and get. So I hope you understood about by now you know why we're using an integration there and how to read the API so far. So in this session, what we're gonna learn is we're gonna learn about the HTTP response status code, and also I'm gonna explain you the JSON structure and the contract where I will explain you how the contract is been made and how you're gonna read it. And also I'm going to take one API and then try to do a testing from Postman, which is predominantly been used, and I'll talk a little bit about SOAP UI, but yeah, I'll teach you guys how to do test in API when you receive an API from your providers. Now, HTTP response status code is a crucial part of your REST API. That's how you would know what the API has dealt with your request. Now, the measure, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an explanation on a very high level, and then I'm going to only tell you a couple of popular error code which you would see in your day-to-day life. Now, in HTTP response code, we have five different category of response code. We say 1xx, 2xx, 3xx, up to 5xx. Now 1xx are all information related, and 2xx are all when it is successful. So wherever you see 201, 202, 203, like that, they all are related to your successful request and response. Now 3xx when you redirect that to another request, another place. 4xs when you got a business error. When I say business error, I say client error. Now what do you mean by client? Let me explain you a client and server relationship over here. Now let's say in my first example where I told you got the bank user portal, you got online portal, you got an app, so that is client. Now you got a DB, that is server. Now let's say I have created an API, and for creating an account, I am asking you that my first name, last name, and date of birth is mandatory for creating an account. But let's say you are not passing that, so that means obviously API will fail without even going to server. And when it fails, it will give you one of the error code of 4xx. So that's what we say client error. Now let's say in the other scenario where you have passed successfully and unfortunately the database is slow or down or something, the API trying to connect to the server but unable to connect, so, and let's say the server errors out or times out, then API will fail with 5xx server error. So this is what the difference between 4xx and 5xx. Now coming back to the popular error code that we have got, most likely so far I have worked before. So for example, like just I explained previously, right? Because I was in the API world for last 5 years. I mean, before coming to the Pega world, I was actually an integration solution designer where I was designing all this API, and predominantly we have used this error code. So 200 is success response. So when you are going to use a get where you are retrieving the detail, you will get 200. 201 is when you are creating a new object in the server. So most likely not many of follows, but it's the standard. Let's say if you are creating an account, the response or means you are basically creating a new record in the server, right? So the response code should be 201, which justify saying that you have created a new record. Now 202 is request accepted and is gonna process or is gonna do something, but your request is valid for the API and the server has accepted that request. So that's what 202 is. Now if you're coming back to 400 series, you will see 400 bad request, which I have given an example where you are passing the best example would be you are not passing the mandatory element, or you are not passing the right data. Let's say date of birth format is YYYY but you are passing DD slash MM slash YYY, so it will fail. So that's how you're gonna get 400. So everything which is falling under mandatory parameter list or falling under the format issue, enum issue, they are all part of 400 error. 401 is authorization error. So let's say for a secure API to connect, there might be user ID and password that we need to pass, or we also called authorization, right? Now basic auth we call that. So now let's say for example you are not passing the right user ID and password, that means it's gonna fail with 401. Now what is 403? It's forbidden. For some reason, let's say you are passing the authorization, but the API is unable to read, or for some reason you are passing an authorization, or you are not passing the right header attribute where the API is basically stopping you to going further. So that's where you're gonna get 403. Now 404 is not found. The popular error code which many of you know. Let's say if I haven't created a account and where I'm trying to pass 123, right? Even before creating an account, there is no 123 account number in the server. So obviously API will return back error saying that 404 that is not found. Now what is the 500 error which I have told? Let's say API trying to reach to the server, but unfortunately the server is trying to process that and takes a lot of time if the data is so huge, or the server has some issue where it failed automatically, or the server has some logic where it couldn't able to execute. Those are the reason where you will find this internal server error. You might have seen errors something like 502, which is bad gateway, which you most likely you would have seen in internet where the server does not respond to you, or maybe the server has changed its address or something like that. So those kind of scenario you will get 502 bad gateway. So I hope you understood about the HTTP response status code, because these are the status code which you would see in while doing the testing in API, and these are the response code which will help you while you connect from Pega to integration, and that will help you to derive or help you to do error handling properly. Now moving to the next, which is another popular topic in API world, is understanding about the JSON structure. So a typical JSON structure would look like something like this, where let's say you got a customer, you got first name, last name, date of birth, address, and then this one, right? So I have just a tip from my side. So what I did is you can install the JSON plugin in your Notepad++. So you go to the plugin and try to install that Notepad++. If anybody wants a screenshot or something, please do let me know. I'm gonna probably send you guys personally how to install that. But by using that plugin, you can actually read a JSON properly, or you can also format. So if you see in the website, I have created a tree view. This JSON on the right hand side is exactly the JSON in tree view on the left hand side. Now let me explain you each and everything on how you're gonna read this JSON structure. Now, as you could see, this a JSON structure is always going to start from a curly braces. So you have to have a curly braces on the top and also at the end, and then you write all your JSON structure. Now the first one, which is over here, is represent a page in Pega. So what do you mean by? So you remember a page, what a page means. Let's say I have a customer page. Now in customer page, I have first name, last name, address, and the address can be another page list, blah blah, right? So that's how JSON will define. So when you have a object called customer colon, and then you start a curly brace, and then you put the other objects, right? That's how you would know that it's a page, right? Now second thing is, if you see the first name, last name, date of birth, they are individual element under the page, right? So if you see here, they all represent. So in Pega world, it's just a single property, right? Not a page or not a page list. Like how you define a page, and in the data class you would create first name, last name, date of birth, right? It's exactly the same. Now the address over here is a page list. So if you see, it's not a curly braces, it has got the square braces. Now if you see, you need to focus on one thing, as address is a page list which has got line 1, country and postcode, and this is repeated, right? So that's the reason why this line 1, country, postcode has to be in a curly braces. So consider this curly braces as a single page
for the address. So if you see, this 3 is a page inside the page list of address. So address has got like 2 pages here. In address index 1 you got this line 1 ABC street, address index 2 you got this line 1 line 2 and XYZ street. I hope this is clear. Now remember another thing, which is another crucial thing. So every time you write, so for example, if you notice over here, so everywhere at the end I am ending that particular field with a comma. So if you see, the first name equal to column pega ending with comma, last name column pega ending with last name column hut ending with pega. Similarly, for every time you are finishing an object or an individual element, it has to be followed by comma, but the last time. So if you see the last one, which is there, which is kind of the end of the JSON. So last doesn't need to have a comma. It's gonna be a syntax error, and if you put a comma, so that's how it will read that's the end of the JSON. So this is what your JSON structure would look like. You got a lot of JSON formatter, validator in online also. Feel free to use that and try to understand. Now let us understand what is a contract. So as you guys know, a contract is a formal binding between two parties, right? So let's say I'll give a very simple example, right, to make you guys understand about what is a contract. So let's say you are going to rent a house, right, and sometime you signed a contract for that house, right, and basically in the contract, the provider, means your owner of that house, would expect you to do this, maintain the house, do that, and when you go back or when you leave the house, make sure you leave the house in the same way that you have received the house. So those are the contracts. So it's a formal binding. So what basically it does, it basically helps the consumer to pass the or do the right thing on what provider wants. So now when I say provider means the API that who develops, right? Now if a provider develops an API, so what it does, it basically creates a request response data type, creates a URI, creates an API, and also it will tell you what response code you are gonna get and all this thing. So that contract is basically gonna help you on how you gonna consume that API, right? Now the most used contract is Swagger. So I'm going to explain you a very high level about the Swagger, and the second most second preferable contract is our Blueprint. So what I've done is I've got two examples to show you how Swagger looks like and how the Blueprint looks like. So basically the Swagger is very popular, and you would have heard about the Swagger in multiple occasion on time. So what basically it does, so if I go on the browser and I say editor.swagger, right? Now if you click on editor.swagger, so you will find a sample Swagger. So basically this is what the contract will look like, or the Swagger will look like, wherein it will tell what is this API, what are the routes that API has, and what are the request response parameter, and what are the response code. So if you see, this Swagger is the API name is a pet store, right? Now so these are the Swagger code. See, these are the code which your provider will write. Although it looks very difficult. Yes, Swagger is index sensitive and all these things is very difficult, but generally it is easy when you start taking one example and start copying and pasting and slowly editing, right? It's easy. So you can play around this code based on whatever you change. This is the visualization part, where as a consumer you would see, and this is the code part. As a provider, they would make this contract so that the consumer can understand and read the contract. Now what this contract say? Now this contract says that I have basically two sections, where we got pet section, we got store section. In pet section I've got these many APIs, so you see 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and in store section I've got 4 APIs. Similarly we have other section where I've got multiple API. If as a provider I want to read this Swagger, what I would do is I will click on this pet store /pet. So this is going to be my URI. along with the full qualified URL which your consumer would provide, your provider will provide. And then okay, consider just so that you guys won't get confused between provider and consumer. So let's say you consider yourself as an as a Pega team. Now you are going to consume an API. So your API is going to be your provider. Now you are going to be the consumer. Now let's say you consider yourself as an API team, and let's say Pega or some other guys would consume, then during that time you will be the provider. So now I am telling you consumer provider based on that instance. Now here let's consider that we are the consumer as a Pega team, and now we have been given this API to consume. So how are we gonna read it? Now what I'm gonna first see, I'm gonna see, okay, this is a post method, and this is the pet slash pet is my URI. Now second thing is this URI has got body. Now in the body, this is a JSON structure. I've just explained how to read the JSON structure. So basically, okay, I have got ID, category as a page, and then name as a single element. Then photo URL is my page group or value group, and then tag is gonna be my page. So this is how I'm gonna read. Now this is okay, all good. Now here what I see, I can see response as 405, just one response code. In general world, you'll have more than one also. So let's read another one. So get is done. Now post is done. Now let me go to get. Now get here, what I'm gonna do is this get, as you could see, right, it has the URI is going to be pet find by status. Now here the status is gonna be an array string. So here you can see it is written as a query parameter, right? So this is as good as you are doing a search. It's not the getting a specific element. So here what you are going to pass is you're going to pass an array of statuses if you want. So for example, available, pending, and sold. And based on that, it will give you a response status. Now you remember I was telling you, right, on the day that previously that API can handle both JSON and XML. So this is one of the examples where you can find the XML. So similarly, if you go here, now this is getting a specific pet ID, right? This is the get, this is the search, because search will have a query parameter. So basically the URL will be pet slash find by status question mark area of status means available, comma, pending, comma, sold, something like that. Okay. Now this one pet slash pet ID. So if you see here, pet ID is in the path. So here pet ID is a mandatory element where you need to pass that pet ID. Otherwise this URI will get you a 404 because it won't be able to find it. Now in the response, if you see, you got 200 where this is an XML version of the response. The only reason why I picked this one so that I can show you both XML and JSON, but in most of the time you would see only JSON because it's easy to handle, easy to cater. Now here you will have 400 when you don't pass the right ID, and you will have 400 when pet is not found. Now for example, if you don't pass the right ID, is going to be 400, or don't pass the proper URL, or 404 if you pass a pet ID 123 and pet ID is not there in the server. So I hope this is clear with respect to on how you're gonna read the Swagger or contract. Now if you want to see the code over here, for example, like if you go to pet and pet ID, you can click over here, it will take me over here, right? Now here pet ID, let's say pet ID 123. If I do pet ID 123, here automatically it will change to pet ID 123. So that's how you're gonna change the code. Obviously if they are binded with each other, so make sure you are, whenever you are doing something, if you want to learn how to change Swagger, you can always learn from editor.swagger.io. Now I hope this is clear. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to the blueprint. I'm just going to show you how the blueprint looks like. Blueprint is way easy than Swagger, to be honest. For readability perspective, as a consumer, Swagger is really good to read, but blueprint is little difficult to, I wouldn't say difficult, but not better than Swagger. But from a consumer perspective, blueprint is easy to make than Swagger. So what blueprint is going to tell you, okay, what kind of URI you are going to consume. And in the URI, so if you see here in the URI, it will directly tell you what is going to be in the JSON. Simple, it's a text file. It will tell, okay, it's a get status, and the response code will be like this 200, and then you will have this response structure. Now similarly, if you are passing a post one, okay, create new user post, and then it will tell you what all parameter that you need to pass, or what all request body you need to pass, and what response body they would pass. And while passing the response body, they would also tell you what error code or response code they're gonna give you, because it's a create, so that's why they are putting 201. So this is what you're gonna get. So basically blueprint, the extension will be most likely md.md, and swagger, the extension will be most likely .json, depending on what kind of file they share. But if they will tell that they're sharing the swagger file, sometimes they'll just send a file. All you need to do is copy the content and come here, delete this, and paste all the content that you copy. Automatically that will convert to a proper visualization, so that you can read that swagger file. Now I hope you are clear about how to read the contract, which is another crucial part, because without knowing how to read the contract, how would you implement the API, right? You can't. So first, always understand the contract, then proceed further. So the last one is going to be how to test, right? In the real world, there are there are many tools which by which you can test the API, but there are most popular tools are Postman and SoapUI. So SoapUI was really famous for testing the web services where you have this visitor and all. But in the recent time, Postman became very popular to test the API. So what I've actually done is I'm gonna show you how to test an Postman. But before that, this is the website that I have posted over here, where you can find a dummy REST API example for your testing. Now what we're gonna do is let's quickly jump to that URL and try to do some testing on the API, so that you would understand how we're gonna do the testing. Now to do that, what I've done is I bookmarked that file. Okay, hang on. Okay, let me get that directly from there. I thought I bookmarked it. So this is one of the dummy example where I have got multiple APIs which is there on the web, and I can go ahead and use. You got all the URI, which URL and URI, where you can go and pick that and get the detail. Now how you gonna test from the Postman? Now the first thing is when you are going to do a test in the Postman, first thing is you need to download, right? Now if I click on Postman, so there are two. One is you can download the web app, you can download the Postman. You can download also the plugin in the Chrome. My recommendation would be to download the Postman directly and install in your system. Now once you install, you're gonna open the Postman. So to do Postman, I'll just open the Postman quickly. All right, so this is the Postman that I was just referring before. So there are two ways, right? So one way is you are starting it from the scratch, and second way is somebody has shared you that Postman collection. Let's say if you are getting the API from API team, most likely API team will share you the Postman collection, so that for you can test. If somebody have shared you the Postman collection, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna click on import and drag and drop that Postman collection, or update a file. So once you update this file, automatically all the collection that person would have created will be imported over here, and then you can start testing directly without doing any modification. But here I'm gonna show you from the scratch. So the first step when you do from the scratch is first create a collection, right? Now you click on new, and then there is something called collection. Now here, let's say collection, I'll say Pegahut collection, okay? Okay, so this collection is kind of a folder, right? Now the first thing is you're gonna click on add request here. Now see, in Postman there are a lot of things you can do. I'm gonna only show you what is important for you and what you're gonna use in the future to do the testing, right? I'm not gonna show you each and every bit. Now here, as you could see, now this is the collection name. This is where you choose method. So you'll have multiple method, get, post, blah 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 blah, and this is the URI. And then this is where you click on the send request after you finish all the collection. Now you could see a couple of tabs, right? So out of that, only tab that you need to focus is query parameter, where in the query parameter you can define, how I was telling you, right? If there is a question mark, you can define all the query parameter here. Authorization, if your API needs authentication, let's say basic authentication, OAuth, or all these things, I haven't covered these in my topic, but yeah, there is definitely a plan that I'll cover all the authentication that Pega provides. But think about all the authentication. Basic authentication is like providing a username. So if I choose on basic authentication, it will ask me the username password. So you're gonna provide, if your API supports only basic authentication, then you're gonna provide the username and password and save it. And then header, all the header that API has. So sometimes the API has header, sometimes API doesn't have. So you can get that from the Swagger file. Now the API that I was showing doesn't have a header, so obviously those scenarios you don't need to put any header. Now in the body, like I told, for get you do not have a body. For post you will always have a body. So that means in post most likely you're gonna have a body. So generally what I do is will click. I mean for get it will always be none. For post I'm gonna put make it raw. And then what I'll do is, so here how you got text, right? You can make it HTML, XML, JSON like that, and pass the body. If it is an XML body, just change it to XML. If it is JSON body, just change it to JSON. And then all these things you don't need to worry about at this moment. Now let's straight away jump and try to test the URL that I was showing over here. Let's start from testing this first URL. Now this first URL is getting all the employees. You get all the employee data. So what I need to do is I need to take this, copy the link address. I need to take this and I need to put, it's the URL. I'm going to put it over here, the URL. Now I need to understand what method it is. It is a get method. So I should choose get method over here. Then it is a JSON, and then at the moment, because I know that there is no header, there is no authentication. So my header and authentication will be blank, and as it is get, so I'm going to have no body, right? The request does not have a body. Now here what I'm going to do is, and I'll probably save this as get a list of employee, right? Get list of employee. Now here what I'm going to do is I'll click on send. The moment I click on send, the response data will be over here. Now here a couple of things to notice. In what is the status, how much time it took, what is the size of the response. So that this will also gives you a idea, or gives you an idea on what kind of performance that you need to look after. So let's say if the size is too much and then you don't need all the field, then only implement those field that you need in Pega, because there might be like thousands of field. You need only 5 fields, so only implement those field, because so that you don't need to worry about this size, or take the size in the Pega as and when you process. So that's how you're gonna determine what kind of performance you are after, and this error code will determine what kind of response it is, whether it's 200, 400, 404. Based on that you can get right. Now this is the response. So if you observe this response, the JSON, we got status, which is success, and then in the data, which is an array, it will have the array of employee, where you got ID, employee name, employee salary, employee age, employee profile image, blah blah. So you can get everything. So this is one of the get call, right? Get list of employee. Now I'll save it. Now generally, let me create another one, which is post. Now what I do to make it a shortcut, that I will click on here. I'll do a view make duplicate. Now here what I'm going to do, I'll just change this one instead of creating another one. Now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a specific employee ID. So to do that, you can do the same. Let me do one thing. Let me go for a post one, right? So that I would understand, or you would understand how we're going to pass in the body. So what we're going to do is we'll create a post. So to create a post, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this one, right? Copy link address, and I'm going to paste it here. So here what I'm going to do is I'll say create employee. All right, and this is post, so I'm going to make it post. And then here in the body I'll go raw, and to find the body, if I'm not wrong, you need to click on detail. Let me do that. Oh yeah, so this is the body. So sample JSON, this is the body. I'm going to copy this body. So this is how the response will look like. So I'm going to paste it here. So here if you see, because I have chosen text, right? If I change it to JSON, you will find an option beautify. So previously if I choose text, there was no option. Once I choose JSON, you will find an option to beautify. If I click on it, will be in the right manner. Now here a name is test. So let's say I'll put name is Pega Hut, and then salary is blah blah, age is something. And then the moment I click on send, it's a post, it has a body. The moment I click on send, it will create me a so basically this is the response. where I got 200, and then it created me an ID for that particular request that I have sent. Now I hope this is clear, and that comes to an end of my post. But one last thing which I wanted to explain you about Pega as a consumer and Pega as a provider. So just so that you know that Pega has an ability. Obviously, you guys know that this is what I'm going to show in my next practical example, where Pega can consume an API on how you can do. So during that time, we call that as a connect REST URL. Now, similarly, Pega can also expose an API where we called connect service. So if you see here, if I just quickly log into Pega, so here if you see right now, if I go to Record Explorer, so in Record Explorer, I've got something called integration connector and then integration resource, right? Now in integration connector, when you see this connect REST, if you can see, okay, this is connect REST, right? This connect REST is where Pega is a consumer and Pega is connecting to the external API, right? Now there is something called service REST, where integration resource, if you go and search for service package, okay, integration resource, where you can search for the service package. Service package is your base by which it will create an integration service where you will have a service REST. This service REST is where the Pega is going to be a provider, wherein Pega creates an API where these all API which you see, this is hosted in Pega, and Pega exposes them by using a service package, which which kind of you think as an API, where service package will link to the service REST. So remember, in Pega also we got two sections. One is Pega as a consumer, where Pega has to create a connect REST. Now when Pega is a provider, Pega has to create a service package followed by a service REST. So this is another crucial information which I am going to explain in my practical world.
That's it for today, and hope you understood clearly. Please hit the like button if you learned something or you like the way I have explained, and leave me a comment if you have any queries or feedback for me. It will help me to improve and also motivate me to post more concepts and videos. As I always tell, sharing is caring, so do share with others so people who do not know about my channel will be benefited. Stay tuned for my next video, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do subscribe and click on the bell notification for my new video updates. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.